Okay, I've called this video "Who's Protecting the McCanns?" but really, more to the point, is why are the McCanns being protected? And believe me, they are being protected. If we start from the beginning, the first thing I asked myself way back in 2007 was why the hell they hadn't been arrested and charged with child neglect. They left 3 children, all under 4, on their own, 6 nights running, for 2.5 to 3 hours a night, in a strange apartment, in a foreign country, while they went off partying, wining and dining, enjoying themselves with the rest of their mob. I've had kids, you know, they're grown up now, but when they were little I wouldn't leave my kids for a moment. There was a paper shop next door and I kind of wouldn't even go and get a paper for 2 minutes and come back unless I took my kids with me. I wouldn't leave them in the house. Not because this thing about someone coming in and doing them harm, that's almost impossible, or very, very unlikely. But because there's so many accidents that can happen to a child. They can climb up the stairs and fall down. They can pull a heavy object off a shelf. They can do all kinds of things like that. They can fall over. They can climb up on the back of the sofa and fall down and break their neck. There's 1,000,001 things that can happen to young children. You just don't leave them on their own. Yet the McCanns thought nothing of leaving 3 young children. The twins were just toddlers. Madeline was, what, 3.5, something like that. Now, the McCanns themselves have admitted they medicated the children, they say with cowpole, to make them sleep or to keep them asleep, so that while they're out whining and dining and enjoying themselves, you know, the children would sleep through. This is really irresponsible. These 2 are doctors, you know. This is really irresponsible. Cowpole is meant for feverishness in children, little aches and pains, teething pains, this kind of thing. It's not meant for drugging your children so they stay asleep so you can go up and enjoy yourself. It's almost like the children were a bloody inconvenience to them all. Not only them, the rest of the so-called Tappers 7. And they just wanted to kind of get the kids out of the way so they could go off enjoying themselves. So why weren't they done for child neglect? I mean, as soon as that happened, I was very, very suspicious 6 or 7 years ago. So that's the first thing. Now the next thing that bothers me deeply was that we had a Portuguese police inquiry, and within a very short space of time the mainstream media in this country were really rubbishing it. They were really slagging it off, using words such as incompetent, bungling, etc, etc. And I thought, why is this happening? Why are they saying these things? This was thorough. The guy in charge, Goncalo Amaral, very, very decent, thorough man, very honest and genuine man. He was doing the best he could. The reason they said that it was being bungled and it was incompetent was because it was fast throwing up evidence to prove that the McCanns were involved in this and that Madeline wasn't abducted as the McCanns claimed. And because the wrong thing was coming up from this, the wrong answers, the British establishment, which is at the basis of all this, threw in a campaign of disinformation and a campaign of rubbishing the Portuguese to try to kind of brainwash the British public into believing that the Portuguese are incompetent lot of idiots and they couldn't do the right thing, which is nonsense. The Portuguese evidence shows without a shadow of doubt that somebody died or there was a dead body in apartment 5A at the complex at Praia de Luz where the McCanns were staying. There is no doubt. The odds are very greatly in favour that it was Madeline. It's not 100% certain. I believe there was something like 19 markers and 15 markers fitted Madeline. which to me makes it look like it was pretty damn sure it was Madeline. They brought in 2 sniffer dogs, Eddie and Keela, or Kiva, can't remember. Eddie was a cadaver dog. For those who don't know, cadaver is the scent of a dead human corpse, a dead body. It's obviously different to an animal's body. It's a unique scent that these highly trained dogs can pick up. And even if a dead body is in a situation and that place is scrubbed with really strong disinfectant, the dogs will still smell the cadaver smell, the dead body smell, the corpse smell. Their sense of smell is about 200 times greater than a human. I mean, 200 times. That's a hell of a lot. And Eddie smelled cadaver in apartment 5A, which the McCanns were staying in. There were several places, but amongst them were the wardrobe, behind the sofa, on Kate's clothing, how interesting is that, and on Cuddle Cat, which was Madeleine McCann's little soft toy, which at some point Kate washed in the washing machine. You know, it must have full of evidence. If that isn't the most suspicious thing I've ever heard, what is? Keela or Kiva, I can't remember the name of the other dog, smelt blood. And some of this was in a car the McCanns hired about 23 days after the so-called abduction. It's all nonsense. Mr. Amaral realised this evidence pointed to the fact that the McCanns were involved in this. I think Mr. Amaral believes that Madeline woke up, she died from an accident in the flat, the McCanns come back and found her dying or dead, and removed the body and then made up this abduction rubbish. That's what he believes, and from the evidence I find it very hard to believe anything else. There is no evidence, and I'll say this again, there is no evidence that points to an abduction. Nothing. Not one bit of evidence, not a shred of evidence. The McCanns made this up. And what I find really annoying is, and it's the mainstream media, which is newspapers in Britain like The Sun, the Daily Express, the Daily Mail, the Mirror, as well as the BBC News, the ITV News and the Sky News. These are the kind of organisations. They portray conjecture as fact. Now, they don't only do it in this case, they do it in all cases. It's kind of a massive kind of brainwashing operation to make us, the public, believe what those up there, those who rule us, want us to believe. And abduction was a word made up by the McCanns, and the mainstream media are saying it as if it's a fact. They say things like, hello Jerry, when Maddie was abducted, what was your first reaction? You know, when Maddie was abducted. Maddie was never abducted. It's something the McCanns made up, but it's being portrayed by the mainstream media as a fact. Conjecture portrayed as fact. And most people believe it, although there is a growing number of people now that don't believe it. If you go on Twitter, there's hundreds and hundreds of people who realise the McCanns are in this up to their you-know-whats. They're as guilty as hell of doing something, but we don't know what. They've all covered for each other. For those of you who still believe the McCanns are innocent people who lost their daughter, why don't you go on Google and start to research it? There's loads of stuff online. Do you know, for example, that Kate was hauled off to the police station and asked 48 questions about the police trying to find her missing daughter? She refused to answer every single one of the 48. The 49th question was something like, and I'm not quoting word for word here, Mrs. McCann, do you realise that you're not helping this inquiry by refusing to answer the questions? And the answer was, and again I'm not quoting, it was something like, yes I know. I mean, if your daughter genuinely was missing and the police are trying to find her and they ask you questions, you'd answer every single one of them. She didn't answer one question, not one. I mean, does that not, I don't know, it stinks to be honest. Again, washing the cover cap. She must have known it's got evidence in. If we go back to the car, there are witnesses that say that after all this, Jerry left all the doors and the back hatch of his car, hire car, open day and night. What strange behaviour. Who would leave all their 4 doors and the back hatch of a car open, unless you were trying to get rid of the smell of something in the car? We don't know why he did that. There's no idea why he did it, but it's really, really strange behaviour. There's a TV film, I've seen it on YouTube, where Jerry is putting innocuous objects into the car, and yet he's wearing rubber gloves. Why would you wear rubber gloves there? Very, very strange behaviour. Very, very strange behaviour. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff on the McCanns. The Madeline Fund is actually been made by the McCanns into a limited company. Again, how strange is that? And if you go on a certain website, you can actually, the McCanns are selling Madeline mementos, t-shirts and mugs of Madeline. They're making money, they're making a profit on their dead daughter. This is really strange. The British establishment, the ruling elite, call them what you like, are protecting the McCanns because they would have been arrested. Why weren't they arrested in Portugal with all the evidence of the cadaver dogs, the blood and all the rest of it? My real thing that I can't get hold of is why they're being protected. Why? Does Jerry know something? Has Jerry got something on someone really high up? I mean, he must have. It just seems strange. Thousands of kids go missing. I believe something like a child goes missing every 5 minutes. Although the majority of them are found within 24 hours, but not all of them. No one else gets the Foreign Office sending them a press officer, as Clarence Mitchell was sent to the McCanns. Just the whole thing. They've got websites, they've got registered limited companies, they're selling mementos, they've got loads and loads of lawyers who, if they don't do as they want, they threaten to sue. They've sued all kinds of people. At the moment they're suing Giancarlo Amaral, saying his book is libelous and it stopped them searching for Madeline, which is nonsense. I don't know any of the answers to all this. I wish I did do, but it's just food for thought. But in my opinion, there is no way Madeline was abducted. The evidence uncovered by the Portuguese inquiry, the good Portuguese inquiry, tells me that the McCanns are involved in some way. We may never ever find out about this. We may never. But this is not just an abduction. No one walked into that apartment and stole Madeline. No one did. The McCanns made that up, in my opinion, to cover their sorry asses, because Madeline died of an accident, in my opinion, in that flat. And it's kind of what the Portuguese inquiry said. Anyway, that's it from me. It's worth thinking about. Have a little look on Google or wherever you search. There's loads of evidence. Have a look on Twitter. There's loads of stuff on Twitter. Transcripts from the trial, etc., etc. I'm going now to the next time. Jonathan says, bye now.